This is the EVP Podcast.
Alrighty, everybody. You're listening to the EVP Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Beaker.
And I'm Ghosty.
And this week we did it correctly, and we waited till after we introduced ourselves to introduce our special guest. You've heard him before, and he's back. He was our first guest ever. This is Dave.
Hello, I'm Dave. I'm back again. 2 years, apparently.
Back.
I like how you rub that in my face.
I'm back. Going to be...
That's not the other thing I rub in your face.
Going to use my Light FM voice, like you're listening to the Light FM.
With Lo-Fi Dave.
Going to listen to some Alan Parsons Project.
Coming up next on Light FM 100, Barry White, Can't Get Enough of Your Love.
And the lighter side of REO Speedwagon.
All right. All right, if you're still awake, thanks. We want to thank Madam Hicks for coming back last week. That was last week, right?
That was
Madam
last
Hicks
week.
for coming back last week.
Yeah, thank you.
She will be back. She has more stories.
And I got her vest over here.
Oh, yeah. We got your vest, so you have to come back.
Yep, we're holding
a hostage. We still closed, so if you want to leave your shirt, that way you can guarantee you come back.
Yeah.
Well,
it's collateral.
I have several layers here, so
leave your boxers when you're done. That way you know you can come back and be on the show.
All right, to retrieve my underwear.
Yeah, that's the only way you're going to get it.
I'm back to retrieve my underwear.
All right. We did have one comment on YouTube from last week's episode from our good friend Paul. He says Tonopah is his halfway point when he's going from, I believe he lives up in Reno area. When he's driving to Vegas, he stops in Tonopah. And he's mad at us because we keep saying we're going to schedule a visit to go see him and investigate with him, and we don't.
One of these days.
We'll
book it.
We'll do it, Paul. I promise.
Goldfield, Tonopah.
We need to.
Clown
and we
Hotel.
Need to,
but there's so many stuff out there because you got the Washoe Club. I know I say it wrong on purpose. There's Mackey Mansion. There's the Bonanza out there in Virginia City, right?
Yeah, so that's all that there in Virginia City.
Tonopah, you got the Nevada State Penitentiary that I want to do out there. Mm-hmm. Like, there's so much stuff. So we should just plan like a week-long trip and go and just hit as much as we can.
Through the desert.
All the ghosts.
And Paul is like the honorary mayor of Virginia City, I think.
I think so, too.
Yeah, I think he has a key to the city.
Yeah, he should. He should. He's literally their economy up there. And
right.
With good reason, though. I say that Virginia City is a really great place.
It is.
It's great. I wish I was that close to Virginia City, too.
There's so much. I would be investigating all the time, too.
Oh, yeah, totally. I don't
Speaking of
one bit.
investigating all the time, I know you're going. You're excited, right?
I am very excited.
March 4th. March 4th. We are going to have our first ever EVP podcast.
Our first ever EVP podcast?
Public investigation. Yeah.
Did you get lost there
I did.
For a second?
I was like, what am I saying? Our first EVP public investigation at the Fort Douglas Military Museum. Tickets are only $30. You can find those on eventbrite.com. There's a link on our Facebook, social media, and Instagram social medias.
And there's limited tickets, so better hurry.
They are selling out pretty quick, actually.
Yeah, we got about a third of them gone, so get on it.
Yes.
And I'll be there.
Dave will be there.
You will be there.
Fun treat if you are there. We are recording our 100th episode at the investigation, and if you've got stories from the investigation while you're there, you are invited to come on and tell us about what happened.
Share them.
So, yeah, we will be having... It'll be lots of fun. Do it.
Do it.
Okay, now that we got all that nonsense out of the way, we're going to travel across the world. We're going back to Romania.
Across the seas?
Across the seas. To another place that apparently Vlad the Impaler visited at one point in time. Dracula. We're going to the Hoia Baciu forest. I might have said that wrong.
What'd you call me?
Hoia Baciu. Hoia Baciu. When I told someone this is the forest we were talking about, he said, excuse me, I think you sneezed.
Type?
Yeah. I think you sneezed when you were saying that. And I'm like, and then he's like, oh yeah. And he started telling me about the forest. I'm like, you know about it? And I'm like, wait, did you just Google it? And he's like, yeah. I was excited. So the Hoia Baciu forest It's located in the Cluj-Napoca city there in Romania. It's nearby. That's the closest city to the forest. This forest is approximately 618 acres, or about 1 square mile big.
Okay.
This forest is. And it's where the devil lives.
That's what I heard.
That's where they say the devil lives. This forest it's been around for quite some time. So
Well, I heard it was named after a guy.
it was named actually Hoia Baciu. Hoia Baciu.
That's his name.
That's his name.
Yeah. They named it after
They
him.
named it after him. Do you know what happened to him? Do you, Dave?
I read about it, but go ahead and tell us.
He was a
Tim.
shepherd,
He was.
and he had like 200 sheep.
Approximately.
Approximately 200 sheep. And this dude apparently took his sheep into the forest one day, and no one ever saw him again. He just vanished.
And a sheep.
And a sheep.
And
Yeah.
a sheep. Everything gone. There was
No trace.
No trace. There was a portal. Do you think there's a portal there?
I mean, there's other stories that
There are other stories.
that go on afterwards that also sound.
But this
pretty
is
strange.
this is where the forest
This is the
got
first.
its name.
This is the first.
So it's like the first. This dude just vanished, and so
That's
they
a
named
huge event, though. 200 sheep. They
And-
probably didn't give a shit about him, but they were like 200,
200 sheep in this day and age.
You know how many coats that is?
right?
That's a lot of money.
Freaking Romania.
That's a lot of
It's
clothes.
cold here in the winter.
Shit.
Yeah.
Also sheep. But yeah, so that's probably a big event. So I see why they named it after him.
I can see so too. But you know what's funny is even before that, it's believed that this place is haunted by peasants who lived in the area as far back as like 6500 BC.
Like the forest people.
Yeah.
I could see that. The children
well,
of the forest is what they're called, I think.
They say there's evidence of like old settlements there,
Oh, yeah?
dating all the way back to the Neolithic period. And like I said, this evidence suggests that it's possible that people originally settled here, like I said, in 6500 BC. So,
It's old.
like one of the oldest settlements in Romania. So this place has been around for quite some time. But the Hoia Baciu, when he disappeared, is kind of more recent.
What year? What was that?
I never saw the year.
I don't think
Like I
ever
never
did
saw a
hear-
year
They
on
just said it.
a lot of these stories. You never see years.
No.
So I'm wondering how valid
It
this
was
actually
probably back
is.
when there was like moon phases.
Probably.
Yeah.
It was
You could say an eon or two.
Yeah.
maybe 4.
Yesteryear.
Days of yore.
Yeah. In the days of yore. I don't think they had yore in Romania though.
The days of yore to the second power.
Right.
That's 2 yours.
2 years ago.
The 9th millionth moon.
Yeah. That's when this all happened. But they say this place is like creepy, right? So they say that like I said, they say the devil lives here. They say that there's a lot of ghosts, which would make sense if there's been people dying in the area since 6500 BC.
Well,
and
what's weird is the trees grow weird there too.
they also see aliens.
That's
trees do
something
grow.
newer.
That is newer.
Yeah.
1968 is
The year of the...
is when it first started. But we'll get to that. So they claim this place is kind of like the Bermuda Triangle of Transylvania.
Yes.
And just in case you didn't know, Transylvania is real. It's not just made up for
Do they have eels there?
eels. What?
I wonder if eels...
Oh, eels.
You
Yeah,
fornicate there.
they have the eel sex in Romania.
That's
And if
where
you know
they
what we're
meet up,
talking about,
maybe.
that's like one of our first Bermuda Triangle
Maybe a
episodes.
couple years ago.
Yeah,
I'm Googling that right
you're probably
after this.
lost. Yeah, Google
Eel
or
sex. I haven't seen that one yet.
No one has.
Yeah.
No one has.
Yeah,
Oh, I can find it on Pornhub.
they just go down there.
Try
and
it. Try it.
Oh, eel sex. No, actually, I don't want to see that.
So there, you might.
I just visualized that. It went from a joke to sort of a semi-reality in my brain. Thanks a lot.
Did it move?
Oh, it's moving right now.
Like an eel.
Hold on.
So you probably won't find eels there, but you will find things like bears and bats and wolves and vipers. Man, bear, pig, with Patrick Duffy as a leg. South Park.
Supertheria.
Yeah, so there are animals there. It's funny because I watched a bunch of videos and some of the people claim that like animals won't go into the forest, but the animals are in the forest.
Yeah.
And you were talking about the trees. Tell me more about the trees.
So they grow in a weird zigzag spiral clockwork precision. But yeah, they
Do you
grow
want me to
zigzag clockwise. They grow kind of clockwise, and then there's this weird patch where nothing grows at all. and they can't figure out why. They've done soil samples,
Yep.
and the scientists can't figure out why nothing will grow there. It's capable. The soil's good. Everything says
Yeah.
it's good to go.
Some people say that this is like a portal where this grassy area is, because there's grass and stuff. There's just no trees, and there, like you said, there's no reason for there to not be trees. Some people say it's like a portal to another dimension. Other people that are very skeptical say it's just a meadow.
It's rolling
But I don't
mountain
know.
dell. Now there are some cases in Poland where they have trees that kind of grow the same way, and they're theorized that they were crafted that way or manipulated by the local farmers in around 1929, and they had to abandon them to make furniture with that curve.
Okay,
and
I've
they're
seen-
very similar.
Yeah, if you haven't
And-
seen the Polish trees that Dave's talking about, look up the crooked forest in
Yes,
Poland.
that's what it is, the crooked forest. And
Oftentimes, like when you're looking up Hoia Baciu, people use pictures of the crooked forest
Yeah.
for Hoia Baciu, but it's actually
yes,
not.
and the ones in the forest in Romania are a little, there's spaces where it's not as uniform, where it almost looks like a manipulated orchard of trees. And
They look like little benches. It's kind of cool.
yeah, and
In
they had to be
Poland.
abandoned because like they did everything else in Europe. The Nazis came in and they
Use it all for
yeah,
furniture.
well, yeah, they basically farming for furniture was not a priority when they rolled through. They kind of abandoned, and they've just grown. But it's really cool I did it. But yeah, the ones in Romania, they're a little more gnarled. Some of them look it's a little creepier looking. But
Yeah,
some are
more-
very similar.
So yeah, they're
more
like you said, they're
ominous,
spiral.
like,
there's
right.
actually some in some of the videos I was watching. There's some that look like they started growing up and then just kind of gave up and started growing back down towards the earth.
That's crazy.
There's a couple that are like growing out of the side of a mountain, or they saw a path and they were like,
Going straight out.
yeah, it was crazy.
Well, and there's a whole bunch that like there's two trees like kind of growing right next to each other, which it happens, but they're like I've seen where like it's one stump and it's kind of split off. These are like two stumps that have grown in like the exact same spot, so two different trees that are
I
growing out of the
wonder
same
if
spot.
maybe thousands of years ago, whoever, when they first were settling there, maybe they manipulated the roots to make it open like that. They kind of made a circle on purpose. So they did have
Maybe.
a playground of some sort to play
This is
in.
where we play.
Yeah.
to worship
Pagan gods.
the pagans.
Well,
And
yeah, people still do that apparently
yeah.
in that little grassy knoll area in the
Yeah.
center.
Oh,
There's
see,
still
I'm just making
there's-
shit up, and it's
yeah,
already, it's been happening for thousands
but it's
of
been
years.
happening. But people still go out there like witches and
I would.
Americans.
I'd go out
Apparently,
there.
Americans with swords go out there.
yeah, and
LARP. They
people
LARP out there.
people do yoga there.
They do yoga to
Yoga.
like
Do yoga in the haunted Transylvania
That's
demon
awesome.
woods.
I would. I'd yoga and I'd LARP and I'd do all those things.
Be like you're in like Upward's Dog and comes the demon guy.
Well, they say that
when you're looking
they,
between your legs,
I'm like, oh no.
they think they think that doing this yoga there, they're actually able to kind of like harness the power of the forest, and they can use that to like grant wishes.
in their yoni.
Yeah, what? Yeah, what? I don't know what that means.
I don't know.
Some people might.
Nastame.
I'm not
It's not
gonna.
funny.
I'm not gonna elaborate, but
Someone else might think it's a yoni egg.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know where he's going now. A yoni egg,
Another thing to Google here
Google.
afterwards. Eel sex and
yoni eggs.
eggs.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. I don't have to Google that now.
But if they're crystals, maybe
Oh god.
putting the rose quartz to the light.
Everyone else will be like, what the fuck? Yanni eggs? Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. No, people they think they can get wishes from the forest using the energy. I don't think that's a thing, but maybe I don't know. I've never been there.
They could.
Well,
It could.
apparently there is a lot of energy in those woods, though. Like most medieval woods, I imagine, with all the history that's there.
There has to be.
There has to be, you get that in nature, I think, just in general.
Right. I mean, it's
And
been
in
there
those
for
forests,
so long.
With all the, rituals that have been going on there forever, all the
Dead
war,
bodies.
and dead bodies, yeah. I bet there's plenty of energy, and you feel it, especially if you're a yoga person.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know if you can grant wishes, but
Well, with all this energy that's there, one of the the main legends. So there was the two main legends. The first one was it being named after Hoia Baciu with him disappearing. The other one was there was a 5-year-old girl
This one's crazy.
that like wandered into the forest, right, and disappeared. Like no one could
Same
find
thing.
her.
Yeah, disappeared.
Disappeared. The only difference is 5 years later she reemerged from the forest, and
No memory.
no memory of what happened, where she was at. It's 5 years later. To her,
Same
it seemed
clothes.
like it was just like the next day or like a couple minutes or whatever. She's wearing the exact same clothes. She hadn't aged
No
at all, looked
aging.
different. Yeah, so 5 years, she comes back looking exactly the way she did the day she went in the forest.
And that also doesn't have a year.
Yes.
Nope.
It is in every story I looked up online, though. I'm like,
Right.
what's that?
Yeah.
It's documented, but it's not like factual documentation.
Yeah, there's no years or anything. So it's
There
just
isn't
like,
a name either. It's just a girl.
Yep. And it's a legend. So some stuff that I understand might have actually been documented was there was a dude named Emil Barnia, and he was a military technician. He went camping with some friends in the forest, and while they were camping, he was out gathering up some wood for a fire. He hears them calling his name and goes to kind of check out what they want. You know, like, hey, why are you calling my name? And it says it was a sunny August afternoon, and he found his girlfriend, and she said there was something weird. They walked over to a clearing, and they looked up in the sky, and there was the kind of a shiny silver disc, like kind of floating not too far above the ground. And I believe he got about 4 photos of the object before it just took off. One website did say that at the time, this was in the 60s when he took these photographs, and he wasn't the only person in the 60s that took photographs. I have another story of someone. But he was in the military, obviously worked for the government at the time, and from what I understood, like, he had everything to lose by coming forward with his information. So they say there's no reason for this dude to make this up. Eventually, like at that point in time,
He lost everything.
he lost everything. He lost his job. He was fired. Apparently, the communist government, they considered belief in the paranormal to be madness and state sabotage. So they ended up letting him go. He got kicked out of the military.
Lucky he didn't go to the crazy bin.
Right.
Well, it's a lot of reason why airline pilots won't. They have the best stories, but you can't say you've seen UFOs. It's probably more a little now you could, but
Yeah,
back
they're
in the day,
coming out now.
you're just like, okay, well, you're a nut. Your license is revoked.
Yeah.
Yep.
So more of them are now
Yeah,
saying things now, and it's not as taboo.
right.
No, it's not. Especially since the government came out recently and said, yeah, UFOs are a thing.
What do you guys think about those crazy balloons?
I think there's some like hobbyists going, "What the hell, man?"
I paid
the
a lot of
Chinese
money
one.
for those.
Dude, I think how much helium costs these days?
So, yeah, I would be upset if someone shot my balloon down.
Hopefully, they had some good like GoPro cam footage on it.
Maybe. That's probably a drone. with
As
a
the
balloon.
sidewinder comes in and blows it up.
That'd be pretty dope.
Well, see, it wasn't just the balloons, though. We did post this on our social media last week. There's
other things they
yeah,
haven't
there's
said what
other
it
things.
is. They haven't
There's
said
some
what it is.
possible UFOs.
Right. They only said one was an actual balloon.
Right.
And
they
the other
have-
ones were a little.
They haven't ruled out.
Right.
They have not ruled out UFO.
Right.
But-
I love that stuff.
One of the truck drivers coming to my work, he was showing me videos down in the Delta area.
Okay.
And he said for like 3 weeks, he's lived in his house for like 40 years, and he's never seen this before. But for like 3 weeks straight, like every night, there was these random like blue and red flashing lights, and sometimes they would move around, and sometimes it would be stationary. Sometimes there would be like 3 or 4 of these things in a row. He's not 100% sure what they are. He looked into it. I'm like, I asked him if it could be a satellite, and he said no, because they don't flash lights.
Satellites
Right.
don't flash or
So
have color.
there's some weird stuff going on.
Well, I believe it out in that area.
Some UFO stuff.
I like that. Interesting.
Right. And down in the desert, don't have so much light pollution.
pollution,
So yeah, it's a great place to see that side.
That's why Dugway here is a place
Yeah.
where people see a lot of, and that Skinwalker Ranch as well. But
Also future episodes.
yep. So this dude in 1968, his name was Alexandru Sift. He was another person that photographed some UFOs in the forest. And that's when these photographs came out. That's when people started really paying attention to Hoia Baciu Forest.
Okay.
I mean, Alexander. I'm going to say Alexander. That's not how it's spelled, but that's what I'm going with. It's Alexandru, I think is what his name is. He was a scientist. I think he was a botanist in the area. And he was fascinated by the paranormal stories. So he, I believe through the 50s and 60s, he made several trips into the forest, documenting kind of his findings and stuff. And apparently when he passed away, all of his notes and stuff, all of his findings and that were destroyed, except for a couple of his notes. And it said that he died in 1993. I'll say that. But the notes that weren't destroyed, apparently they kind of detailed all the experiments he was doing in the forest, and every single of the notes ended with knowledge is harmful and ignorance is bliss. So I know that this dude was real. The story that I found on him as I was kind of reading through it, I don't know how real this is, especially, and I'll say why at the end of it, but apparently about 10 years after he passed, so this would be about 2003, the Romanian government kind of started taking interest into his notes, and they wanted to see if they can recreate his experiments. So they got 3 guys to volunteer. They didn't tell them exactly what they were doing, because if they told them, like, hey, we're going to drop you into this forest by yourself, they probably would have told them to, F off, we're not doing it. So they just told these guys that they wanted to see how an average person would travel in a foreign territory with only a compass and a light source. So they didn't tell them what the territory was. They just said, we're going to see how you manage by yourself out here. And they also told them that they would receive a substantial reward if they
survive.
if they were able to accomplish the task. But more or less, yeah, we'd give you a prize if you
They
survive.
turn and giggle at each other when they say that.
Yeah, if you don't get transported to another dimension,
So
here's some free veal.
There's a
So
pheasant.
I don't know if the Romanian government actually recreated this experiment, but this is supposedly what the Romanian government did in trying to recreate Alexandru's experiments. So the first guy they brought in, they flew him in by helicopter. By helicopter.
Nice.
Not airplane. They didn't make him skydive. So they flew him in by helicopter.
Get out.
At kind of like the western edge of the forest. And brought him in at midnight. The only thing they gave him a backpack that had food, water, a compass, and he had an oil lantern with enough oil to last him until morning. They told him that he needed to go east until he reached a road that would lead him to a cabin where government agents were waiting for him. Okay? And they told him to stop every 30 minutes to record any events that he experienced on paper. So he reached the cabin at 2 a.m., and he gave the notes to his agent, and he was driven to a nearby city and received his reward. So the first guy, like I said, it only took him 2 hours. He was able to get to the cabin, apparently. At 12:30, he stopped and wrote, "I stopped at a nearby creek to rest and eat. Being in a forest at night with only an oil lantern for a source of light really managed to scare the hell out of me. I thought I kept seeing more shadows than there really were." Okay? Half hour later, 1 o'clock, so he's doing what he's asked. He says, "I stopped at a little clearing to change the oil. I swear there must be something out there following me. I can almost be sure there was a shadow that wasn't from a tree. Maybe an animal." Okay. His 1:30 entry. "Now I'm definitely freaked out. I saw something staring at me in the distance. I only managed to see its silhouette, but as soon as I looked at it, it vanished. I'm starting to second doubt this experiment." 1:55 is his last entry. "I'm on the road. I can see the cabin from here. That thing that from before that was following me. The more I walked, the more it got close. Thankfully, I haven't seen it for a while, so I figure I'll just get to the cabin without any more delays. So after this whole experiment was over, apparently he remained in an alarmed state for a couple days, but then he just kind of went back to normal.
So he's having some PTSD.
A little bit of PTSD. So the second guy,
being freaked out.
just from being freaked out. So, like I said, I'm not sure. I know Alexander, he did do the experiments and took notes and stuff like that. So I don't know exactly what his experiments were or if this is actually something that happened. But like I said, I thought that was an interesting story.
That is pretty cool.
Second subject, because there was 3 guys.
Uh-huh.
The next night, at midnight, drops them off in the same spot, gives them the exact same things, the backpack, the food, the water, but his lights, or the compass as well, his light source, instead of an oil lantern, they give him an infrared camera.
Oh shit, so it's dark as hell.
Right. So he's got an infrared camera.
What year is this?
So this is supposedly 10 years after Alexander died.
So 2000?
2003-ish. Right? So there's only one website I found this on, so I'm like, this is too good to not share.
Okay.
I honestly think this is just a made up story, but if this is real, like that's even cooler. Sort of. Not for these guys, if it is real, but for us. So this dude, he ended up, so he gets dropped off at midnight as well. He doesn't get it till 5 a.m. So he took 5 hours.
Oh shit.
When he showed up, he was very physically and psychologically shaken, and he was kind of panting and crying in fear. This dude was scared, right? So his first entry in his journal was at 12:30. He says, "This camera really doesn't help me navigate. I even fell a few times because of it. Almost everything I see is blue and black except for the occasional red spot of an animal or a bird." His second entry is at 1 o'clock in the morning. "I don't know what the fuck you guys put out here with me, but it's not funny. I took a break to drink some water when I heard a rattling come from deep within the forest."
A rattling?
A rattle.
A rattle.
Yeah. A rattle, rattling, a rattle. He heard a rattle. He heard a noise in the forest.
Yeah.
He says, "I took my camera to see what it was, but I can't be sure that it was no normal animal. It was big, but hunched over. I couldn't make it out. I couldn't make out its details since it was glowing bright red." I'm assuming looking at it with the infrared.
Uh-huh.
He says, "I slowly walked away from it, never losing it out of my sight, even though it stayed completely immobile. I found a small ditch to hide. I guess it's better to write in here than out there in the open. I'll quicken up my pace. The faster I get out of here, the better." Okay, so that's 1 o'clock in the morning. His next entry is not until 4:30.
Oh shit.
Says, "I'm sorry for not writing more frequently. I just never had the chance. Shortly after my last entry, I heard it walking towards me. I hid in a small cave and waited for it to pass. It took so long because of that. It didn't even leave me alone. I'll probably not write anything else until I get to safety. The last thing I want is to be surprised by that thing while my guard is down." So after his experiment's over, they say he was visibly stressed out and he was so kind of messed up about it. He went and saw a psychologist for the next 3 months.
Interesting.
Subject 3, the next night. So this is 3 separate nights. Dropped at midnight. Same place he's dropped. Give him same equipment, except for his light source was a night vision camera.
And hold on. So this forest is only a square mile.
Yeah.
So it should only take. A mile should only take you half an hour.
Right.
That's if you're going slow.
That's if you're going slow.
Right. Okay. So I'm just trying to
Yeah,
visualize this.
Well, I mean, if you're taking a leisurely walk at night, you know.
And this cabin is inside this forest.
Yep.
So it's not even a full mile then that they're walking. Okay.
But it's at midnight in
In the
dark.
Right. Okay.
The first guy,
So you're going slower already. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, with your light source, one with the oil lantern, I could see you're going to have a lot more light. It's going to be easier to see stuff. When you get to your only light source is an infrared camera.
I wouldn't even use it.
Yeah, right. And then the last guy, he's given a night vision camera.
Okay.
That's the only thing you have to see your way around.
Which is actually pretty good.
Right. I've done it on plenty of investigations. I know Dave has as well. Walking around with a night vision camera is great on investigation.
Oh, for sure. Especially if you have a good power source for the light.
So, that's one thing that they say is like the forest will like drain your batteries and stuff. Actually, one of the videos I was watching, they mentioned that, and they might have staged this, but they mentioned that it drains your batteries, and then the light on their video camera went off, and they started running and screaming. But so the third guy, they say he never came back. They never found the guy. So he was dropped same spot, night vision camera. When the agents were leaving the cabin because the guy never came, they found a worn and beat up ragged piece of paper that was on the doorstep, and it only had one entry at 12:05. So 5 minutes in.
5 minutes in, it was already.
5 minutes in.
That was only entry.
5 minutes in, it's his only entry. It says, "If you find this, please tell my family I love them. These may be my last words. After I couldn't see the helicopter anymore, I turned on the camera to check my surroundings. I can see about 20 meters in front of me. It doesn't. Oh, I can see it 20 meters in front of me. It doesn't move as I write this. It doesn't even blink. It has no eyebrows. It's taller than any human or bear that I've ever encountered. It's hunched like a gorilla, supporting its weight on its extremities of its limbs. I can't even call those things hands. It has fish-like eyes, no pupils, pure engulfing darkness. Oh God, it's tearing down the trees as it moves." That's it. Apparently, after this experiment happened, the Romanian government placed an electrified fence and guard towers around the forest. What makes me think this story isn't real, I couldn't find anything about there being a fence or guard towers around the forest.
Yeah, so none of this is actually.
So I don't think any of this actually happened. I know that Alexander did take pictures of the UFO and that, but I think this whole story that I just read was all fictitious. But it's a really cool story, I think.
It is pretty cool.
There are a few pictures.
There are some pictures
of some good like shadow figures that people took in the forest of a bipedal
Big monsters.
thing. Yeah, they also with can't see the pupils or anything, but there's some good pictures of there. And again, how real are they? It's the internet. But
You know what? Another thing makes me think about this meadow. It could be a magnetic field of some kind.
I think they have found traces of like some magnetic stuff in there.
So I could see that, and maybe the trees don't grow in there because of that. But it also could be something that causes aliens to come over and check shit out.
Could be.
Right, and then a lot of people that go there, they feel sick after spending too much time there, which also again,
could be
if you're being exposed to
that EMF
These are some of the things that people report feeling or seeing when they're in the forest. People say they see balls of light. People say they see ghosts while they're in there. People say they hear what they call talking wind, which is basically disembodied voices, and they also hear giggling while they're in the forest. People report hearing footsteps. One of the videos I watched, as they were walking down the trail, they said they heard footsteps walking in the forest right beside them. And they kept looking over, and the trees, at the point that they were at, the trees were kind of really close together, so you couldn't see through the trees. But the people were saying they heard footsteps as they're walking through the forest. Some other things that people say, the UFO sightings, a lot of UFO sightings, especially in that clearing. People say when they're in the forest, they get feelings of anxiety. They get feelings that they're being watched. People say that when they're in there, they come out with burns on their skin, or that they get severe rashes. I guess there's been studies that have been done that show that there's a higher than usual radioactivity produced by natural uranium in the subsoil.
Interdimensional right there. Maybe there's like a glitch where things are interdimensional, and they say 1,000 people have disappeared.
Over 1,000 people. Yep.
In this square mile.
Yeah.
What if it's just like all of a sudden interdimensional as they're walking through,
or just a gravity? Because gravity is all over the world. Just the ribbons are and they're so just from the natural, from the solar radiation hitting us and the solar wind. It's like the North Lights, and just a random hit and in that specific area that has that unique composition of the soil or the land or whatever the case is there.
But maybe aliens like that, because that's where they can go interdimensional easily, maybe in that area.
It's possible.
People disappearing and reappearing back.
I mean, there's the glowing green eyes is another thing people see there.
With this crazy gorilla monster thing.
It could be just a result of that just unique atmospheric anomaly.
This is very intriguing.
I know, like when we talked about Travis Walton, the whole area where his abduction happened was radioactive.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it could be a hotbed for UFO activity and paranormal activity because of this uranium. Which I think this might also be a reason why people report having headaches and high fevers and nausea while they're in the forest.
Hallucinations.
Yep. And then I talked about equipment failure, which I don't know if uranium would cause that, but a lot of people claim that their equipment fails. There was supposedly a group of paranormal investigators, about 5 investigators, that went for a camping trip overnight, and they said they found some ruins, and ever since then, like, nobody else has been able to find them, so I don't know if there's any interdimensional or that's not a real story. One of the two. And then there was another story that the people on the video told, was that in the wintertime, some people are in there. Sometimes people see footsteps just kind of appear in the snow, like walking through the snow, and all of a sudden they just stop, like the person either stopped or just kind of vanished. Interdimensional or ghost.
Maybe something even like a residual that's leaving an imprint there. It's like, the best places I think to investigate are old mines, mining cities, and I think there's a reason for that because of the mineral composition.
Oh yeah,
more susceptible for magnetic waves and stuff, and things happen. And maybe it could be like just interdimensional footsteps. Someone's in another dimension walking, but it's imprinting itself in that area. Which would look, more like a residual haunting type thing.
Right.
Which I kind of, my opinion on residual haunting is that's part of it.
What if it's one of the lost people?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
What if it's one of those sheep?
Or if it's the actual dude.
He's back.
He's trying to find a sheep.
Yeah. He's like, they're in the other dimension, bro.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people have taken pictures of the forest. They say that their pictures, they'll get like random black mists in their pictures. They'll say like their faces will come out warped. And apparently there's a lot of photos of shadow people in the forest.
I could see that. Because especially with, that'd be creepy. Just that, I bet you get just a ton of shadows just the way these branches are all over the place. And as you're moving, they're going to move with you. And then you're probably going to see some other things dart the other way.
Right. Well, like I said, I was telling you earlier when I lived in West Virginia, and you get into those forests that are pretty thick, and that's what was my backyard was a forest. And it does mess with you, especially on those moonlit nights, full moon, where you just have a little, it's really creepy. And again, it has a whole different vibe back there compared to the Utah forest. Again, I think these are the best forests on the planet. I love Utah forest, but I can see that. And when I was telling you, those pictures look very similar to those Appalachian forests, where it's not pine, it's all the maples and whatnot.
Yeah,
and,
just thick.
It's a whole different vibe. And like I was saying, with the history of these areas, that it could just be a perfect storm of you have the history with the paranormal, the unique composition of the ground with the uranium, magnetic beams or fields coming in and out. We know so little about the universe. Who knows what's happening there? It all comes at like once, or maybe every so often it all just comes together. Something weird happens. Paranormal.
Yeah. Something just turns perfectly, and
right.
then bam.
Right. It's like like a key in a tumbler. It's that perfect thing, and something happens.
Yep.
And sometimes it's just a hunched over gorilla demon guy or something.
Without hands.
Without hands, and or your sheep disappear. Which would be the better option, maybe. I don't know.
The portal to hell.
It's a portal to hell, or they take your sheep. You pick.
To hell. You take the sheep.
Yeah.
The sheep go through the portal to hell.
Yeah.
They should get portals to hell to go there. That's a show.
But how would be if you're just a sheep, man? I'm just walking through here. I'm in hell. What's
So all these people that have so on YouTube, there's a bunch of people that just walk in there and spend the night there, and I mean, it doesn't seem like any of them experienced this crazy of an event as these three guys that did, walk through the forest at night. Mm-hmm. We should do it. We should do it ourselves.
Yeah. I know Ghost Adventures went there.
Oh yes.
It is not on that episode. Is not on.
It's not. It's not.
I tried to find it, but I did watch a clip that they had on TravelChannel.com, and when they actually drove up to the clearing, and the way that they felt, or the way they described feeling, was they did describe that strong feeling of anxiety, but for them it would come and go. It wasn't always they weren't anxious the whole time they were there. And this is only a 3-minute clip, so. Mm-hmm. I don't know how the whole investigation went, but they did say, both of Zach and the guy who was with said that they felt anxious, but then it would go away and they felt completely fine, like nothing was wrong. And then it would come back. So it would be fun to walk through and kind of see what it was like. I know the couple videos, the one girl went in and kind of told the history of the place and didn't really feel anything. And then the other couple that I watched, they were the ones that any noise or anything, they were freaking out. They were walking in and there was this part was actually kind of weird because there was a pack of dogs that showed up and it was barking at them. And it was some of them were in front of them, some were behind them. They almost had this circle of dogs around them. Almost as if the dogs were trying to warn them. But the dogs
eat them.
But the dogs only went so far. They wouldn't actually follow them in the forest. They kind of followed them up the trail a little bit, but then they stopped and just kept barking at them as the couple walked into the forest.
Gorilla's gonna get them now.
Yeah.
But every time they said, like I said, they thought they heard something walking through the forest with them. They heard a lot of tree branches cracking and stuff like that, which is not uncommon if you've ever been camping in the woods. You hear creaking of trees and stuff like that. It just happens. Like I said, their light went out as they were talking about batteries being drained, and I almost wonder if that was them just turning the light off for effect.
Is there? Because I never saw anything about there being any structures on this square acre or the square mile. So, is this cabin that they speak of? Is there a cabin that even exists on this land?
I doubt it. Like I said, I don't think that story is true at all. So I haven't seen about there's houses nearby, as they're coming into the forest. There's actually people that live right at the edge of the forest.
Isn't it a big agricultural area?
I think so.
Probably
Maybe.
is.
We'll go with yes.
Because I would say
I did Google Map it, but I spent about an hour a day on Google Maps. I could have been looking at Botswana or something. I don't know.
Because it would be kind of cool just to walk through that at night, the middle of the night, at midnight, ourselves, with just our phones and no flashlights, and just walk through. See if we get chased by a big ass gorilla. We got you. Squatch and gorilla fight.
Yeah.
Ginger squatch gorilla
I'm
fight.
only half Squatch.
You don't have to be faster than the gorilla monster. You just have to be faster.
You have to be faster than the slowest person.
I'm sure Dale can remember. What's your 40 time, Tim? I got bad knees, but
that's why you always take a fat person with you, because they can't outrun the animals. Me being the fat person. I don't know. I could hold my own. I want to fight a grizzly bear. Apparently 6%
declaw it first.
This totally off the subject, but I did see a post today that says apparently 6% of Americans that were polled believe that they could win in a fight against a grizzly bear. So, I could take this. I could take it.
Like a teenage.
Yeah, well, bear. I mean, you gotta work the body first.
Whatever this gorilla monster thing is.
Because you can't fight, you can't breathe, and then you go to the head, the nose,
the neck,
and then it
jugular.
Yeah, and then it will clamp onto your throat and rip it out. And you're dead.
Right. If I die in some gruesome way, at least I'll be able to say I was killed by a cryptid.
Yeah.
You
be on the next level. Well,
who you gonna tell that to though?
I'm a ghost. I can do what I want.
Tell to the obvious
one. Yeah.
I'm into obvious 3. I gotta find someone one of those.
It's
common.
Sure wasn't
You're
a bear.
An investigator, I'll tell you.
Find out. Oh, it was actually a bear with rabies, and in the mange. It just looked really bad. It actually was really weak. You might have taken it, but you were running.
It was killed by Cocaine Bear.
And Ray Liotta's ghost.
Yep.
Rest in peace, Ray.
Yes. His last movie ever.
Yep.
Cocaine Bear. Comes out soon in theater near you.
I think
I
this
can't
weekend.
wait to see
Non-sponsored.
that for free on HBO.
Yeah, wait.
So, yeah, that's the Hoia Baciu forest.
Sounds
Apparently
pretty
me
nuts.
me fighting cryptids.
Have we with our cameras going? Go to the body! The body! It's a ghost!
Hit him in the kidneys.
Cade.
You can't see him in the camera.
It's Tim just out there.
Get beat up.
Beat up. He's getting ghost beat up.
Hey, that happens.
Interdimensional.
Yeah.
He's getting
It happens.
interdimensional
It
ass
does.
whooping.
We talked about it with Lurch a couple weeks ago at the Bell Witch House. Some dude got beat up right in front of everybody by a ghost.
Got an interdimensional ass whooping.
Yes, he did.
Whatever. It's like,
Speaking of interdimensional ass whoopings.
Phantasm was a lie.
Yeah, what? No.
Okay, well, that's probably
That's a Ben Affleck
Go
movie.
watch. No, not that. Not Phantoms. Phantasm.
Yeah,
And Phantoms was a really poor version of that book, by the
Yeah.
way. But we won't go down there.
Yeah, let's not go down there.
Yeah, that movie sucked.
So it's been 2 years since you've been on, Dave.
Yes.
Any investigations that you've gone on your adventures or plan on going on here soon?
Besides Fort Douglas. Now, the two in the 2 years, I've done 2 investigations, and they were both at the paranormal potluck at Bensongrist. There's been, which it is what it is. That place, it's a great place for getting or experiencing things. But we've probably talked that place to death.
Yeah.
So
Just
I
a
won't
little
I
bit.
won't go to Bensongrist because we're there so much. And in fact, as you know, you see me walking around. I'm not even doing it. I have no equipment with me. Maybe my phone for a quick EVP session. They've told me whatever they need to tell me at the Bensongrist. The spirits there. It's a good place. Good place to start off if you've never done it.
It is.
I
Another
will
good place to start off is Fort Douglas.
Yes, because that's where we're going to be investigating, I guess, eh?
Yes, sir.
And that place is probably my second favorite, right behind the now defunct family tree. So now, because of that, it has bumped up into the #1 spot.
And you were there with us when we got the shave and the haircut on video.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was at the family tree. That was one of the craziest things.
If you haven't seen the shave and a haircut video, it is on our YouTube page. You just go to our YouTube page, scroll a little bit down. I have it titled Shave and Haircut. You can actually see a spirit responding on Ghosty's EMF meter when we ask it if it knows shave and a haircut. It's really cool.
And then you hear the tapping.
And then you hear me swear.
Beep beep. Or actually, beep beep. But it was I'm probably the skeptic of at least I feel I am. I always want to debunk everything versus believe in stuff, because it's when you believe in stuff, it's the really cool stuff. But that was odd. Mm-hmm. That was because that thing wasn't doing any that sensor wasn't making any noise, wasn't doing anything until you did the.
Well, and then I had, because it was DVO that did it, and after it happened, we tried to recreate it and we couldn't.
Yeah, no, we tried. That was a cool night. But as far as Fort Douglas goes,
there's a lot of crazy stuff that's gone on there.
that was my first real experience where I went, holy crap, this is there's something to this. And that was the first time I saw a shadow dart across the wall in a room where no one was moving. There was no light flickering in and out. No one was.
Which room was that in?
That was in the library.
Okay.
And that was in the library that has all the swords.
Okay.
Or swords.
Swords.
If you.
So that's before you go back into
Right.
the
So you
office,
have the.
So there's no windows in this room.
Yes.
So you're not getting the cars that are driving by.
And we were out looking for that, and that's Caleb was in that room with us, and a couple other people, and that was a chunga hunt years and years ago. I think that was in actually 2015.
That was a long time.
It was a long time ago. I remember making a video because I was recording, and I have a really good recording of that. And I was trying to pull it up on my old email because I do know that I did send it to somebody, but it's so old it's been archived. But Caleb may have that. I copied it to discs, like CDs. That's how long ago it was on my laptop.
What are CDs?
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
exactly. And but we were in there, and I had my EM pump going, and we were just asking questions. And in this video, and you couldn't see obviously with your eyes, but there's orbs going up around Caleb, going into the EM pump. There's a point where I'm sitting there, and it was with the infrared, and I feel something. I start like moving my hand around, and it was where an orb just went shooting right into the EM pump.
Interesting.
And it was just building up, and we were just doing an EVP more than anything. And I wish I had the camera pointing towards us versus the rest of the room or where it went. But and Caleb and I both saw it, and we all saw it, but we saw it in two different ways. Where I saw a dark shadow come shooting from behind us and going across the wall fast, and it had some three-dimensional aspect to it. It wasn't just a shadow, it was more like a mist, where Caleb saw more of a white gray, I believe, if what he was saying. But we both saw the same thing, and one of the other guests or investigators went running out of there screaming, and we all saw it, and I swear on that video there's like a pop before it happens, like almost like an electric pop, but you feel it.
And that was also in the library area?
Yes, this all happened in the same spot. And it almost like you felt that energy building up, like something was going to happen. Because like I said, there's a point where I'm like, wait, I'm like, what is that right here? Caleb's phone turned off. It was just you could feel something was going to happen. It wasn't us just psyching each other out or anything like that. And when at the end, and I think someone says, "Oh my God, what is that behind you?" or something to that effect. And that's when the shadow goes shooting across the room.
Oh, shit.
And that was so cool. And I thought it was neat. I wish the people didn't scream or whatever, because I would have liked to hear what's going on. And you hear him running down the hall or whatever. I'm like, isn't that why we're here? What are you running away for? Right? I mean, it's not like if it came out of a wall with an axe or something, I might take off. But it's just
They were watching too much Ghost Adventures at that point. You hear something.
Protocol.
That's what you do.
Protocol.
Right? Yeah.
Hey, ghost, talk to me, and then when they do, what?
Yeah, I never. Yeah, even then, and honestly, I was there because of Ghost Adventures. So, that's why I started watching. I'm like, that's pretty cool. So I saw that Goldfield episode, which again, Paul Goldfield.
We're coming.
We're coming someday.
Yeah, we'll keep saying it until it happens.
Well, I'm saying we discussed it previous to this too, so we're not just saying that.
So at Fort Douglas, I just remembered of a cool experience I had in that same area, but it was like right at the entrance of the Navy room.
Right.
Because when we went, the Navy room, you couldn't access it that night, so they were using it for storage, and I didn't know.
Yeah, they remodeled it. It's not the Navy room anymore, but. Yeah.
But at that time, that was what it was called, and it wasn't. It used to be accessible, and people have had a lot of experiences in there. I've never been. I didn't know that was a thing in that room. To my knowledge, it was always closed off. But I walked up to that room, and I already felt stuff right away. And
I've got stories about that room.
Yeah, share that after this
yes.
one. So,
no, I'll share it on our Fort Douglas episode, the 100th episode.
Okay,
I'll share mine after yours.
Okay, so so
if you do yours, I'll do mine.
I'm feeling something in there, and I kind of go to the entrance as far as I could, and I'm leaning in there, and I'm having my K2. I'm holding my K2 in there, and I'm asking for something to make a noise, and I was joined by this other. I think she's also a medium. Her name is Mary Carmen. She joined, and she was standing there with me, and she was also listening in on it, and she heard it make a noise. So when I asked for something to make a noise, it came from the ceiling somewhere, and I can't remember if it was like footsteps in there or something like a ball rolling or something, but it was like coming from the ceiling. And then soon after, I asked for it to come set off the K2, and it starts going off in my hand as I'm reaching it in there. It's going off, and there was nothing setting it off. There was no reason for it to go off. And yeah, when I asked for it after it was making noise, it set it off. That's pretty cool. And I think I have that on video too. I have to go through my stuff, but I just remembered that.
Well, the Navy room was a fairly active room. That was like one of the places when we did all those chunga hunts. He goes, that's a place where we get a lot of activity.
Yeah, and so I found out afterwards when I told people, and they're like, "Yeah, it's called the Navy room."
Yeah, and it was. I mean, this is like in 2015 or back 2017. I have to look. It was a long time ago. Days of yore.
It was how many years pre-COVID?
Yeah, pre-COVID, and
5 years pre-COVID.
That's another place where I saw a shadow in there as well.
You saw two in that place,
right? And that was it was more like just it wasn't quick, so it wasn't started. It was just kind of like towards the door. You had to walk up those stairs, and it was a cool experience in that. The other one was one I think I felt, and I'm not a big Audio Vox, the
Echo Vox?
Echo Vox, thank you. And I'm not really into those. They're kind of like the orbs, where I think like 90% of them are just a bunch of things you're hearing in your head. And
I've gotten relevant information off
I
the
have
Echo
too.
Vox.
I'm saying, but it's that 10% that's the good stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm getting
This
to
is very
that.
true.
I'm getting to that 10% right here because I always want to remain skeptical. I'm not saying I don't want to believe. I'm just saying that I want to like that. And I have Echo Vox on my phone. It's fun to play with when in these places. And so this was on a Chunga, and Chunga was actually doing it, and it was making all these words would come out and whatever. And I'm sitting there just interested. I wasn't freaked out, even though it was saying some words here and there. And it was going through, and it said in my head, I heard this loud and clear in my head, in my mom's voice, just David Ward. I heard it. It sent a chill. I felt it. Like I was like I instantly went to hairs on standing up mode. And again, I was just kind of sitting there like, whatever. We were just kind of wrapping up. And that night, nothing really had happened.
And it said your full name,
David Ward, in my mom's voice, and I felt like my mom. And she died in 2000. And I went back and I was recording. I had my recording. In fact, I've got it. I don't know where it is on there somewhere. It's one of 157 files on there. I took it and it just went. That's all it was. It wasn't my name, but I heard it.
Right. Yeah.
And again, I wasn't thinking anything. I said I wasn't even really into it going through. But when I heard that loud and clear in my mom's voice.
That's pretty nuts.
And again, that was just like, okay, that's, and I try not to, again, I never psych myself up at these places. You know me.
You weren't expecting
right,
that.
You know me. I'll be by myself in Family Tree.
Yeah.
Down there going, hey man, if you want to do something, do something.
Because
so I don't freak out.
You weren't expecting your mom's voice.
No.
You're in a place
I
that
wasn't
has
even
nothing
thinking
relative to your mom. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm not thinking of my mom when I'm on a ghost hunt at Fort Douglas.
Yeah.
So I've actually had with the Echo Vox, because I used to. Before I sold you my camera, because I had the really good one, and then my camera was stolen, I would record my Echo Vox sessions on camera, and I'd go back and listen. There would be things like we would hear plain as day while we're having the session, and then we go back and listen to the video. It's like you said,
right?
It doesn't sound anything like what you heard at the time. But the funny thing is there's other times where you're going back and listening to the audio, and there's something that you hear very clearly on the audio that when it happened live, like you didn't hear it.
Just bypass it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then I was
just like, how did I miss that? But at the same time, it's like the stuff we're reacting to, it's like, it didn't say that.
Not picking that
right.
up.
And that's the cool 10% of those. And that's why I said I like the Echo Vox. I said, but it's one of those things where I said the majority of it that I hear coming out of it is just a bunch of gobbledygook. And
pretty much. Well, with the Echo Vox, it's just like, I believe it's Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven just kind of scrambled up.
Right. And but when I heard that, and again, I wasn't even, it just, I don't know where, it sounded like my mom. I was like, David Ward? Just like she was saying my name. Like, hey, I'm here. And it rattled me. And I don't get rattled very easy. And it was quick. But it was kind of like an excited rattle after I come like, oh my God, did I just hear my mom?
No,
and
I've only ever seen you get rattled once.
Yeah.
And that was a Family Tree.
Yeah, again, Family Tree, but I do that again any day of the week. Any day.
So, I mean, you've mentioned the EM pump a couple times. I don't think we've ever spoken about it on this podcast before. If you don't know what an EM pump is, we've talked about spirits. They feed off of electromagnetic fields or energies, and anything can set off an EMF. So basically, these EM pumps is basically an EMF generator. And if you buy the good ones on like Ghost Stop, they're quiet. But if you make your own like I did, they're very loud and noisy. and they ruin your EVP sessions.
Annoying, yeah.
They're very annoying. You've seen it.
I have.
Both of them, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. The box I got was way too big.
Hey,
I was supposed to buy the smaller box. They work.
It did.
They do put out EMF, but they're super noisy, so I can't do EMF or EVP sessions while I'm using my EM pumps.
The low vibration is not what you want to hear in a dark room.
No, it's
like.
Well, what about your plasma ball idea? Does that put out EMF?
It does put out EMF. It doesn't put as much as my EM pumps do, but they do put out EMF.
And they're quiet.
They are quiet.
And they make a cool light show.
Yeah.
They do make a cool light show. So they do work. They don't put out a ton of energy, so spirits can kind of feed off on it if they don't need a lot of energy. If they do need a lot of energy, the plasma balls are not going to cut it. Because they either plug in using the DC adapter, or I usually just use AAA batteries, so it's portable. So it can work, but not as good as like an actual EM pump. Some of the things that I do have that I want, or I don't have, but on my wish list is a Jacob's ladder or a Tesla coil.
The Tesla coils are loud though.
Yeah.
Well, the Jacob's ladder is gonna be loud too.
Oh yeah, Jacob's ladder. That's the loudest one.
Those things, because you just have a big bolt of electricity going.
Zoom. Yeah. Zoom. It's like you're in a 1950s Frankenstein movie.
Right.
A Tesla coil can be loud as well. Electricity is it's a loud thing. But yeah, that's what EM pumps are. They just create energy that spirits can feed off of, so they can communicate with us.
I think mine's an ion pump too, if I remember.
Yeah, didn't you get one off the Ghost Stop or?
No, it was on another place that
GhostHunterStore.com.
Yeah, it was on eBay, like everything I buy. And it was they're defunct. They're not in business anymore. But that's where they made those cool light arrays for my camera, or your former camera. That you can't use it because yours is stolen.
Yeah.
Sorry, someone stole your camera.
Right,
I'll let you use it. Hey, I'll bring it to Fort Douglas because I'm not going to be using it if you want to use it.
Oh, I've got new toys.
Oh, okay.
I got a millimeter with a REM pod on it.
I've seen that.
It's cool. I like it.
I'm gonna get me a new voice recorder.
I think we're just kind of dragging now.
Oh yeah. Well, should we call that an episode?
We probably should. Follow us on social media, like I mentioned earlier, evp.pod at Instagram and Facebook. If you have a story you'd like to share with us, email us at evp.pod@gmail.com. Also,
Get your tickets.
Get your tickets for the ghost hunt. And before you do the ghost hunt, I don't know, unless you get express shipping, you can check out our affiliate link at ghoststop.com to buy yourself some gear to bring to the investigation, because we don't have any to provide for you.
Tim and Dale will autograph them for you?
Yeah, sure.
For a small fee.
Ghosty and Beaker.
Nickel.
Yeah,
Ghosty and Beaker will, for 50 cents.
For a light slapping.
Yeah, what? 50, that's all.
We'll get into that after the...
Yeah.
Get your tickets, though.
Get your tickets. We hope to see you there.
You won't be sorry.
All right, Ghosty don't play that.
Peace out, butterflies.
Robots don't say ye.
This is the EVP Podcast.